As a doctor, I am well aware that beating a disease requires not only an appropriate treatment strategy, but also the correct choice of medication. The pharmaceutical market today is flooded with millions of different types of drugs. Let us look more closely at what exactly serves as a guarantee of quality and how effective medicinal drugs are produced. Syntez, one of the largest plants in Russia producing pharmaceuticals and medical devices. The company has been operating since 1958. Production began with the manufacture of vitamin B12. At present, Syntez manufactures more than 200 different products and possesses unique technologies for the production of semi-synthetic antibiotics in accordance with the required framework and certified drug manufacturing processes. This is the city of Kurgan. Joint stock company Syntez, one of the leading companies in the Russian pharmaceutical industry, has its production facilities based here. With dozens of workshops, warehouses and auxiliary departments, it appears as though it would take more than a whole day just to walk around it. In fact, it all starts here, in the laboratories of the Quality Control Department. The name itself indicates that this part of the company plays one of the key roles in production. As the saying goes, quality over quantity. At the same time, the professionals working here have a much more complicated task at hand: to maintain medication quality while ensuring costs remain reasonable for the patient. These people act rather like surveillance guards. They make sure that not a single gram of substandard material leaves the plant. Every batch of finished product is put through an arduous quality test as it leaves the workshop. The entire history of each batch of drugs produced is entered into a special dossier. Examination results of raw materials, test results, and other checks can be found here. This document can be read like a logbook, displaying every stage of the product manufacturing process. Experts supervise all stages of pharmaceuticals manufacturing, from checking raw materials arriving at the plant to packing finished products. There are 3 laboratories in the department: microbiological, chemical and pharmacological. Each has its own function. Microbiologists carry out monitoring of the pharmaceuticals. They carry out tests for sterility and microbiological purity and determine the antimicrobial activity of the antibiotics. In addition, these laboratory specialists supervise all stages of pharmaceutical manufacturing by taking the required measurements and performing analyses, verifying the required purity, operating conditions and materials used. The chemists work alongside the microbiologists. Their task is to monitor strict adherence to chemical data sheets during all stages of production. The laboratory is equipped with modern high-precision equipment. Every day, the chemists perform hundreds of tests on raw materials, packaging materials, and process water. Even staff overalls and the air on factory floors are subject to regular checks. And finally, experts from the pharmacology lab test the raw materials, auxiliary materials, and ready products for toxicity, pyrogenicity, bacterial endotoxins, and other parameters. The important role assigned to the department's specialists is confirmed by their responsibilities. They have the right to stop production at any stage if they find even the slightest discrepancy with the established norms and standards. However, given the strict multi-stage system for quality checks, such a course of events is highly unlikely indeed. The Quality Control Department's vivarium is of central importance. Pre-clinical testing of pharmaceuticals takes place here, providing assurances of the quality of the manufactured drugs. These animals play a truly important role in the company. They're on the cutting edge of scientific progress and are treated as such. All rabbits are kept under special conditions which allow them to maintain a constant weight and the correct temperature. Company professionals weigh and take the temperature of the animals each time before testing. They also take the appropriate measurements and health status checks after the injections. Let's proceed further. The brilliant insight of a scientific theoretician is one thing, but the harsh reality of production is quite another matter. History shows many examples of wonderful inventions promising salvation for the whole of mankind, which ultimately remained on the drawing board. Well, there is no doubt that Synthes produces an effective array of products. So let us take a look inside its nerve center. A, B, C and D. Ask anybody what these letters represent and they would be just as likely to reply that they are categories of a driving license rather than anything else. However, at the plant, these letters have a different meaning. They describe the degree of sterility at the premises. A is the highest level. Access to these areas is almost completely forbidden, so as to avoid even the slightest contamination. Mounted on top are devices that create a sort of air barrier. Purified air is supplied to this area at a given speed to push out even the tiniest mechanical impurities. All the procedures are performed on modern automated production lines. So, for example, solutions for injections are filled in ampoules, sprays and drops are poured in sterile pouches, while powders for injections are packed into vials. So, is this a perfect vacuum then? Is there nothing alive here at all? Of course not. However, even microorganisms and bacteria which surround each and every person and appear perfectly safe can upset the structure of a pharmaceutical. That is why this area is completely sterilized in terms of the microbiological environment. Over there, behind the glass, there's nothing which is biologically active other than what is used in the formula of a drug. Zone B surrounds Zone A. Here we have operators working throughout the day. Before a person can enter this area, they must go through a special decontamination process, which includes donning special overalls that have also been subjected to antibacterial treatment. A respirator also needs to be worn, which cannot be taken off under any circumstances. So far, we have only seen the so-called dirty area, and over there is the clean area. And now Gennady is ready to join his colleagues. We have a chance to see the process he'll have to go through. It's really quite straightforward. Follow the rules at all times. Those who work in Area C have to undergo a special decontamination process for their hands and wear standard clothing, overalls, boot covers and a cap. This is where external preparations, creams and powders are packed. A natural biological human background can in no way affect the finished products at this time. For the rest, everything is at the same level of sterility as in the areas that we've already seen. Here is level D. This level of cleanliness is maintained in areas where the finished products are formed into tablets, where capsules are manufactured and vials are cleansed. A typical hallway. Hundreds of employees move along it every day. But even here, there are no half measures. Perfect cleanliness is also maintained here. If you look, you will see that the form of the floor skirting is specially rounded. This is done deliberately, in order to avoid any dust accumulation. But wait, what about the air? In fact, what we inhale likely has a very complex structure. If your body can successfully neutralize some harmful impurities, what about the components used in pharmaceutical manufacturing? It turns out that the air in the production premises differs from what we breathe outdoors. This complex system of ventilation and air conditioning includes a number of levels of treatment and special filters, cleaning it to a degree that could be called premium class. Indeed, perhaps the company could even branch out one day and start producing canned, perfect air. Have a look here. These filters first clean the air from large impurities, that's to say from usual dust. Then fine filters start operating. The air is dried to the required humidity and then heated or cooled to the desired temperature. Only after that is it supplied to the production area, passing through finishing filters that entrap microscopic particles and microorganisms. And how do you find breathing such air? I wish I could stay here instead of going home. The Central Research Laboratory plays an important role in the plant. This is where the work is constantly being carried out on creating innovations in new technological fields, as well as on developing the company's own substances for the production of antibiotics and ready-made drug products. It is no coincidence that once again we hear the word quality. Here our specialists not only develop new technologies for substance production, but also new methods of drug and raw material analysis, which are later implemented by the quality department professionals whom we encountered at the beginning of our story. It would take a few hours to list all the medicines produced by Synthes. Today, Synthes produces hundreds of types of drugs used in almost all fields of medicine: cardiology, neurology, ophthalmology, gynecology, pulmonology, dermatology, and so on. What are you particularly proud of? What developments would you like to tell us about? This one, for example, is called Oflomelid. It is used for the treatment of burns and wounds, and only recently launched into production. There is nothing like this unique ointment anywhere in the world. It disinfects, anesthetizes, and has a wonderful healing effect. It sounds like a miracle ointment. Well, you could say so. And what other types of drugs need a special mention? There are also our unique cardiology drugs, Verdicardol, Amlorus, there are Polinadim eye drops, there's Sultacin, antibiotic for injections, there's Vancorus. I can see the list is long. It's good to get an opinion from a recognized expert. Issues regarding the quality of modern drugs used in medicine, and cardiology in particular, are of pressing concern at the moment. Unfortunately, many generic products can currently be found on the market in Russia, which differ vastly in quality. This makes it quite difficult for doctors to choose a treatment that will be both safe and effective. Given these circumstances, those companies, particularly Russian companies, which choose to conduct high-quality trials, should be encouraged in whatever way possible. One example of such a company is Synthes, which conducted several clinical studies, including the Camellia study, using their own generic drugs. This large, multicentric study involving more than 300 patients confirmed the quality of the drug Verdicardol, one of those produced by Synthes. Such studies conform fully with recent Russian legislation, encouraging the use of clinical trials to verify the equivalence of generic drugs. In a large clinic such as ours, the antibacterial drugs produced by Synthes can almost fully provide the first line in antibacterial therapy. This is mainly due to the very wide range of drugs produced by this manufacturer. This includes everything from basic penicillins to cephalosporins, from the first to the fourth generations. There are protected penicillins, which are essentially domestic protected penicillin brands. There are also medications we use for the treatment of hospital-acquired infections. These include Cepim, Ceftazidime Acos, and Vancorus. Another positive point is that the drugs produced by Synthes are available in several different dosages. We find this to be very convenient. An establishment like ours can successfully use the maximum dosages of drugs, such as ceftriaxone, ceftazimide Acos, and cefocin. An additional factor which should prove attractive to both hospitals and outpatient clinics alike is that drugs produced by Synthes can in many cases be used to provide sequential therapy. Drugs such as azithrus, clarithromycin, and leflubact can be used to provide sequential therapy in both therapy and urology. I would add that this is far from our first year of working with Synthes drugs, and that these have proved highly effective. It is good to see that these are domestically produced products. Incidentally, not only drugs are made here, but also various polymer products designed primarily for the blood transfusion service. We manufacture devices for donor blood sampling and transfusion, containers for blood transportation, and multiple accessories for the extraction of certain blood components. Indeed, this plant can easily equip a modern blood transfusion station to the highest possible standard. Our department has been using Synthes products as teaching aids in the training of doctors working in blood transfusion services and clinical practice for over 30 years. From our experience, I can confirm that these products meet the highest standards of blood transfusion service levels. In clinical practice, we use medical kits particularly widely. These are kits for therapeutic plasmapheresis and for Seldinger technique catheterization. The Synthes plant produces various capacity blood bags. We can prepare practically any patient dosage of autologous blood for surgical procedures. To conclude, I can say that products manufactured by Synthes for infusion, transfusion and efferent therapy are widely used in clinics and improve the efficiency and safety of transfusion procedures.
Способствует повышению эффективности и безопасности проведения трансфузиологических операций.
So together we have had a look at the main stages of production, heard opinions from independent experts, and have seen for ourselves how high the level of quality is, and that drugs manufactured here are both effective and safe. Another batch of drug is being dispatched. The final record of the production cycle is entered into the dossier, and soon the drugs will be delivered to clinics and pharmacies. There is, however, one very important point that should always be taken into consideration upon prescribing medication: access of the drug for the patient. Synthes guarantees quality at a reasonable price. Providing the best possible value for money is company policy. Synthes positions itself as a socially responsible company. Safety, quality, efficiency and accessibility form the cornerstone of the company's success. Today, Synthes has assumed its rightful place among the leading domestic manufacturers of pharmaceutical and medical products. The company's products are used in many cities across Russia, and its sales geography is constantly expanding due to the company's entry into the international market, including the CIS countries and further afield.